Hello, folks. This is Callisto8413, and once again, we're back talking about a niche book. In fact, I realized there's a couple of niche books that kind of went together. First is Single Stage to Orbit: Politics, Space Technology, and the Quest for Reusable Rocketry. Basically, this is the Cold War era, during the Reagan administration. The author kind of points out that Reagan, like Kennedy, had a huge part in the space exploration and science, during helping NASA develop what they wanted was a reusable spacecraft, and ended up with the space shuttle, which, for multiple reasons, did not turn out too well. It had to be a lot of money had to be poured into it every time it came back down to refurnish the the tiles and the equipment, and sometimes they had to rebuild stuff. So it didn't work as well. But during that time period, there was a real huge push to make space profitable. They wanted a single stage to orbit rocket. The idea being that you wouldn't really have to redesign everything. It'd go up and come back down. You could refuel it, come up, go back. They wanted the equivalent of a commercial airliner for space. And it doesn't really work out that well. Uh, this, in fact, for example, this is The Rocket Company. It's a sci-fi book, very hard sci-fi book, that almost reads like a business plan, and it is very interesting. But they suggest a two-stage, where the idea is the first stage would come back down with parachutes, and the second stage would come back down with a glider. Uh, you know, the idea being is, well, one stage is a little too advanced for us. Let's go with two stages. Because during the Reagan era, they kept on pushing, we got to get profit in space. Let's do this single staged orbit idea. And everybody loved it, except for one thing. There was no way we were going to develop that at the time. We didn't have the material for that kind of rocket. We didn't have the engines, the fuel. We didn't have the technology. But people still loved it. Then the Cold War ended. The military decided they didn't need a space program, and NASA suddenly found out it wasn't getting a lot of money anymore. And then nobody wanted it. One of the problems having the military being a huge investor in the space program is when they decide they don't need something, or in this case, the Cold War ended, interest in space so I went. So, but this is another book that I would suggest getting, even though one of the reviewers is a certain CEO in charge of SpaceX. Please don't judge this book by that individual. It is a really good book. It is. Now, if you want to learn a lot about space, especially the parts about, single stage or second stage and all that, Spaceships. This is a really good book because inside it is information. I think there's actually now an updated version. I have the first version. In it, there is so many interesting little factoids. For example, Germany made the Silver Bird. It was designed in 1944. They never got beyond the blueprints, the engineering drawings and all that stuff. And it gets only a 2 out of 5 stars. Because basically, it was also designed to go suborbital and drop a radioactive dust bomb on New York City, or a major city in the United States. Post-war studies of this showed that they got really close to getting something right. But they kind of overestimated how far the fuel would go. The idea was it'd launch off in Europe from a booster, like a rail, go over America, drop a radioactive dust bomb on a major city, and then end up probably on the other side in the second ocean, the Pacific, maybe in Japanese territory. But post-World War II studies showed that they really did get the fuel amount wrong. In other words, it didn't have enough fuel. It might have completed the mission and then crashed in the Rockies. But it was boosted on a rail, so it actually kind of is a space plane. Like I said, it gets a 2 out of 5 in the book. But it is an interesting idea because it literally is just one stage. And there was other ideas, of course, throughout American history. For example, there's the Roton rocket. If I can find that, I think it's the next one. There it is. The idea is it's half helicopter, half rocket. So it had, I believe, burning liquid oxygen and jet fuel. The rotary engine, well, basically, while you're in atmosphere, you're still also getting oxygen from the air. So you use that to get up to as high as you can, the rotaries, to get up as high as you can, as far as ways you can while still being in atmosphere. Then those fold, the rockets shoot up, and you go into space. You could do the same way down, though it shows it either taking off or landing with the rockets. Now, here's the best part about this. Though they still didn't give it a 2 out of 5 in the book, they actually made a kind of working model. They wanted to test out the blades, and they were able to fly it. But the pilot said it was really difficult to do. Also, they had backers. They had money. And suddenly one day the backers backed out. You can't spell back without back. I don't know. But so this ended up being like in the middle of the desert someplace. I think it's in the Southwest someplace, or I don't know what state, but you could actually see this model. And let me point out, it's a model without the rocket engines. They're just testing out how weight and all that stuff. And it's really cool. But once again, they're trying to get into space and cheating the formula that tells you, this is how much fuel you have to have for how much mass. They want to get around that. And until they get better material, better engines, better fuel, whatever, it's not going to happen. And during the Reagan years, that was the barrier. Science. It's not going to happen. But they still kept on trying to get the government to believe them. All these people, all these businessmen trying to get out of the gravity well. But you couldn't. The ceiling was too low. You couldn't do it. Or too high, whatever you want to call it. Another book that kind of deals with this, Floating to Space. Now, funny enough, some of you might already remember that balloons do go up in the atmosphere. Weather balloons, and they did. I don't know that guy. I don't remember the guy's name. I just realized it right now. The one who jumped from a capsule from the stratosphere. Who sponsored it? Was it a drink? I forgot who sponsored it, but basically, the idea is you could take tourists up in a balloon into the stratosphere and then bring them back down again. I mean, once again, this is a wonderful book, and if you don't get it used like I do, it actually supposedly comes with a DVD. But it has wonderful pictures and everything. But these are all niche. You really have to be into to space and the science of space travel and technology. And I mean, look at that. Look at that. They still gave it a 2. But, this is wonderful books, niche books. I'll put the titles and all that in the information below. But this is something that, like I said, this is all politics. This one, Single Stage to Orbit, is really all politics. It talks about space technology, but mostly talks about the Reagan years. And I think the author kind of used this to talk about that the Kennedy years were not just the only years that developed NASA and its goals. Because at first, it was just the Cold War. Then it was the Cold War, but profit too. I mean, to be honest, NASA does make profit. The technologies it designs, the devices it designs, are used in multiple industrial levels, in households, in government, in private sector. So NASA does make money. Any country with a space program makes money and makes a goal. Because kids will look at the space program and go, I want to be a doctor in space. I want to be an engineer in space. If they don't join NASA, they've still got those doctors and engineers and all the other professionals now for your society. When you don't have a goal like this, you kind of go downhill. Okay, folks. Well, that's, once again, thank you for listening. These are my niche books, multiple niche books. So hopefully if you saw one that's interested in you, I mean, this is, like I said, mostly politics in the Cold War. This is a business plan, really, a hard sci-fi, but it's business plan. It does have illustrations in it too, very good. Just don't look at the back cover. This is great, though I believe there is an updated version. So, because this is, when was this published? I got the book right here. Hold on. So 1944 to the present, but the present for this book was, I could find an intro, 2005 was the intro. So it's already, oh good grief, 20 years old? Wow. And of course, this one is just fun to read. Just I know I'm not sure if you could ever take it seriously, but there is a whole bunch of ideas of making airships to orbit. Uh, so in sci-fi, but also like I said, they're trying it right now. These are ideas. They might not get payloads in orbit, but they can get people up there, look around, and then come back down again safely, unless there's a hurricane. Okay, guys, thank you very much for listening. Good morning, or good night, or good afternoon, or good day, or whatever good it is for you. Bye bye.